Hi, it's Edward, back with another video. Please take a moment to click the thumbs up button below and consider subscribing to the channel. Please also share this video via social media and with your friends via email. Thank you for your support. Today, I read several financial news articles. I've included links to the articles in the description below. I encourage you to read the articles to support the authors and news sources. As a private American citizen, I'd like to report and share my transformative thoughts through commentary regarding small sections of these articles that are of public interest. Will the stock market crash? Well, not today, because investors were all excited about core CPI. This was the big news on Wall Street today. I read an article on CNBC.com written by Jeff Cox titled, "Inflation was flat in October. From the prior month, core CPI hits two-year low." According to the author, markets spiked following the news. The Dow Jones Industrial Average roared higher by nearly 500 points as Treasury yields fell sharply. Traders also took any potential Fed rate hikes almost completely off the table, according to CME Group data. While this may seem like good news for investors, Wall Street is often disconnected from Main Street. I visited the Bureau of Labor Statistics today and reviewed the table titled "Percent Changes in CPI for All Urban Consumers." Here is something that some people may not have noticed. Two of the things that everyone typically needs to survive haven't decreased. Shelter has risen in April, May, June, July, August, September, and October. Food, including food at home and away from home, increased May, June, July, August, September, and October. Energy has dropped quite a bit, but people priced out of their apartment who are now couch surfing at their friends' houses don't need to worry about paying for energy to heat the home. Used cars and trucks have decreased the last 4 months. So for all those people who overpaid for a vehicle in the past few years, guess what? You are likely in an even worse negative equity situation than you were before. Investors are all excited because they believe the Fed will not hike rates any further, and they may pivot even sooner. Well, this may be good news for those who have financial assets. I'm sure some stock portfolios jumped quite a bit today. For everyday Americans with little to no retirement savings or no other exposure to financial markets, I don't think the latest CPI report is anything to cheer about. Your food has continued to get more expensive, and so has your shelter, both of which humans need to survive. Well, if you don't think this CPI report is good news for some everyday Americans, you may also think this isn't good news. I read an article today on Yahoo Finance put out by MoneyWise and written by Bethan Morecraft titled, "You now need to be earning $115,000 to buy a typical U.S. home, but most American households fall about $40,000 short. Here are 3 alternative ways to get into real estate." According to the author, home buyers today need an annual income of $114,627 to afford a median-priced U.S. home, according to Redfin analysis, which is up $15,285 or 15% from a year ago, and is almost $40,000 more than what the typical household earns. Well, the 10-year Treasury dropped today, and mortgage rates are closely correlated with the 10-year Treasury. Therefore, home buyers who rely on financing may see a reprieve in rates, at least in the short term. This drop may allow some Americans to afford more of a home, but it isn't going to be anything like what people were able to do back when mortgage rates were in the 3% range. In recent weeks, the 30-year fixed-rate insured conventional mortgage has fluctuated between 7.5% and 8%. Some home builders have bought down rates so they could move their homes. For many home buyers, this was more enticing than purchasing a pre-owned home with no interest rate buy-down. I think it is going to be very interesting to see what happens with the 10-year Treasury moving forward and how that may impact mortgage rates and the housing market across the country. Even with mortgage rates coming down slightly, many everyday Americans are still priced out of the housing market. Unfortunately, many have to continue paying high rent for the foreseeable future. especially those without rich parents or grandparents who can provide a sizable financial gift for a down payment to make the monthly mortgage amount more affordable. While shelter has continued to climb based on the CPI report that I referenced earlier, one thing that isn't increasing are the prices of luxury watches. I read an article today on Yahoo Finance put out by Fortune and written by Prarthana Prakash titled "Prices of High-End Rolex and Patek Philippe Watches Hit a New Two-Year Low as Luxury Slump Spreads Beyond LVMH and Gucci." According to the author, the prices of Rolex and Patek Philippe watches slid to new two-year lows in October as demand in the secondary market declined. The Bloomberg Subdial Index, which looks at the pricing for the 50 most traded watches by value, fell 1.8% last month to its lowest since 2021. In the last 24 months, the prices have dropped about 18%, according to the index. Here are my thoughts. In the past few years, some people made a lot of money speculating in high-end watches. I wonder how many of these speculators are now left exposed because of the mountain of luxury watch inventory that they are holding. This could be a real problem, especially if these speculators used credit to purchase their inventory. The watch industry has really been interesting in the past few years. I visited a Rolex authorized dealer and they had no steel sports watches at all. They had a few solid gold and a few two-tone watches available, but that was it. In recent years, people who were able to source certain stainless steel Rolex sports watches were able to flip them on the secondary market for a huge profit. The watch game seems to be changing quite a bit. The author of this article said a downturn in the stock markets and cryptocurrency coupled with economic pressures such as high interest rates began to hurt the watch market a year ago. Since a high in the secondary watch market last April, prices have dipped by a whopping 42%, Bloomberg reported. During the same period, Rolex and Patek prices have fallen 27% and 47% respectively. With all investments, you can potentially lose money or lose all of your money. I wonder how many are heavily exposed to these speculative investments and are now in a negative equity position. I am sure some will be impacted by what is happening in the watch market. It will be interesting to see how long it takes for a recovery to transpire. Sometimes people have a hard time continuing to pay for their luxury goods. I read an article today on yahoo.com written by Stephen Symes titled "Croy Beerman's Rolls-Royce Cullinan is up for repossession." Retired NFL outside linebacker Croy Beerman apparently is suffering some big financial setbacks. After living large with a professional athlete's salary, it appears the former football player is getting his Rolls-Royce repossessed after allegedly ghosting BMW while not sending in payments for the ultra-luxury car. Well, I hope Croy Beerman is going to be okay. Apparently, Bravo canceled the Beermans' Don't Be Tardy reality TV series back in May of 2021. If I had the opportunity to sit down with him, I would tell him to buy a used Toyota Camry with high mileage and an up-to-date maintenance record. Now, I can appreciate the styling and the luxury features of a Rolls-Royce, but I would never want to own one. I've watched some YouTube videos about how expensive it is to perform maintenance on these vehicles. I would never want to throw away that kind of money on repairs. I'd also be afraid of driving a Rolls-Royce and parking it somewhere. You'd have a very bad day if your Rolls-Royce got hit by a shopping cart. I actually parked next to a Rolls-Royce at Walmart. The hood ornament was down inside its hidden compartment so that no one could steal it. If you've never seen how that goes up and down, it's really pretty cool. After I got out of my Camry, I wondered who drove their Rolls-Royce to Walmart. Well, as I was walking into Walmart, I saw an elderly couple that were pretty overweight walking out. The guy had on these sunglasses that were all iced out. I said, "Yep, that's who owns that car." And I was right. They walked right over to that Rolls-Royce and got in. Hopefully, Croy Beerman isn't struggling with credit card debt like a lot of everyday Americans are. I read an article today on foxbusiness.com written by Javier Simon titled, "Alarming Number of Americans Fall Deeper into Credit Card Debt Each Month Survey." According to the author, as Americans grapple with record high debt and stubborn inflation, many also struggle with credit card debt. In fact, more than half, 61% of Americans have credit card debt today, and they owe an average of $5,875, according to a survey by Clever. The author of the article goes on to indicate many aren't just using plastic for luxury. About half of credit users, 48%, turn to their cards to cover essential living expenses, such as rent, food, and utilities. Unfortunately, some are falling behind. About 28% of card users say they find it difficult to make the minimum payments on their credit card, and 14% say they've missed a payment this year. Well, I can understand why many everyday Americans are struggling to make the minimum payments on their credit cards. Life has gotten incredibly expensive, and based on the CPI report that I referenced earlier today, certain aspects of life are continuing to get more and more expensive. Many people haven't seen their wages keep pace with rent increases. Many get sticker shock every time they go to the grocery store. If you have a family with growing children and you have to buy food for all of them, it has to be very depressing. From my perspective, credit card debt is incredibly dangerous right now, given the high levels of interest being charged by companies. These credit card companies are charging anywhere from the low 20% range to the low 30% range. This all depends on the type of credit card. Retail cards generally have the highest percentages. That's not a good thing since we are about to enter the holiday season, and some consumers will rely on their credit cards to buy gifts for their family and friends. Many everyday Americans will not alter their lifestyle, and they will instead rely on credit to keep spending. I suppose that is good for the U.S. economy since 70% of GDP is consumer spending. I just worry about how long this will be sustainable. I think more people should try living beneath their means so they can get a handle on this credit card debt before it spirals out of control. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Please keep in mind that nothing in this video is financial advice or advice of any kind. If you need advice, seek advice from a qualified professional in good standing who puts your interests first and foremost. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Please also consider sharing this video via social media or via email with your friends. I want to extend a special thanks to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I want to also thank all of my channel members. Check out some of the great books that I suggest you consider reading in the description below. I've included Amazon affiliate links to these books. As an Amazon associate, I earn from qualifying purchases. Stay healthy and wealthy. I'll see everyone in the next video.